Blog for Denzin Chapter 1. So, I said that the thesis of this reading was that both performance and performativity can be used for social and cultural, cultural discussion and without need to control the environment and data. So, what that means is that both the performance, which is what has been done, and performativity, which is the doing, connect with how we talk about culture without the need for people to control how people are talking, but just let them talk about their experiences. So that is what that means. So like I said, performance is the done, and this is an event that's happened and is an experience that has happened. Performativity is the doing. So that means that it's an ongoing thing, that you're constantly feeling this cultural role and social role, if that makes any sense. So then we talk about how, in the main ideas of Denzin's work, we talk about how performance and performativity change how everyone perceives themselves through self-reflexive critical thinking, which basically means that you're looking at yourself, looking in yourself and realizing that there's these parts of you that you cannot ignore in listening to other people's experiences. That I cannot ignore that I am white, and that other people cannot ignore that they have some privilege over others. And so that is what self-reflexivity is. And it has a few terms, basically, which continue to talk about how there's critical thinking. And then one of the other subjects, is how culture, text, and performance collide. And that basically means that we're taking all of these forms in performance ethnography, and we collide the culture, the text, and performance. And so that means that we have to talk about the distinction of as and is. So performance as an ongoing event, which we talk about on page 9 of Denzin's work. So performance as a fluid ongoing event marks and bends identities, remakes time, and adorns and reshapes the body. To tell stories and allow people to play with behavior that's restored. And so that basically is saying we have to embody these ongoing events and experience them for ourselves through the text of what these performances are saying and through their culture. And then performance is enacted, describes performative behavior, how people play gender, heightening their constructed identity, performing slightly or radically different selves in different situations. So then again, we have to talk about, you have to understand that you act differently in different settings. You don't act the same way as you do with your family and your friends, or the way you act at work versus school. And so those are one of the main ideas. And then we talk about every performance is original and an imitation. And what he describes on page 10 is saying how every performance is an original and an imitation, a transgression from the original. If performances are actualities that matter, then gender reality only is sustained by social performances. Which is a lot to take in, because that doesn't make as much sense as it should. So basically, it's saying that there is an original form. Somehow we don't know what that form is, but there is somehow this form for performance, which was the original. And so everything else is an imitation of that form. But it has transgressed and transformed through time in its original, because there's totally different settings and themes in each performance. So that's what that's saying. There you go. And then we talk about how every performance how performance relates to cultural process, ethnographic praxis, hermeneutics, I'm sorry if that's not how you say it, active scholarly representation, and politics of culture. So all of these things are basically what turn to pedagogical performance. So pedagogical performance, so let's break it up. Pedagogy, is the idea and theory and method of knowledge. In fact, that is how it is in scholarly work, which can be said pedagogy is part of praxis, the theory part of praxis. And so pedagogical performance is like theory-based performance. So it's taking possibilities that could happen in real life and putting it into performance. And I'm going to take a quote from page 16, which says, performances are sites where context, agencies, praxis, history, and subjectivity intersect. So all of that is together. So that makes me question, would we consider our performance ethnography a pedagogical performance? And do we think we will give the voice of veterans justice? So those are what I would like to talk about.